This is the largest conventional wheeled tractor that Massey Ferguson has ever made. It's 370 horsepower and it's aimed firmly at the larger farmers, the agri-businesses, some big contractors, etc. It's not, as you can see, a typical runaround tractor that you'd find in the smaller farm.
What things drive the design and the manufacture of a tractor like this one?
Well, farmers are increasingly, of course, looking to control costs. That means two things. It means that they want tractors which are reliable, low cost of ownership, etc. But secondly, tractors that are highly productive, because the more work that we can do in a day with a tractor, the better. That's why tractors have been getting more powerful recently. One driver can be used to drive a 370 horsepower tractor rather than two drivers driving 185 horsepower tractors. And that effectively means more work done in the day. The second thing driving tractor design is the driver and the cab comfort, the ergonomics, etc. And essentially a comfortable driver with good access to all the controls round about him will be more productive than a driver who's sitting in an uncomfortable cab who's having to grapple and wrestle to find all the controls. Going along with that, the access to information on the tractor's performance and indeed the performance of the implement behind the tractor is obviously important as well. And then the icing on the cake is to be able to take all that information on the work that we've done today, take it back to the farm office, analyse it by computer, and if necessary make corrective action for the work that we're going to be doing tomorrow. So productivity, comfort, and then we add into that government legislation driving tractor design, which would essentially revolve around, at the moment, the emissions legislation. And this is really about ensuring that the air that we all breathe as citizens of the world, if you like, is clean. And that's why we're now moving into stage 3A and moving forward to stage 3B for emissions legislation in the next few years.
What things are driving this new legislation?
Well, the objective of the legislation is clean air. Now, why is clean air important to all of us? Well, it could affect our health if we have nasty gases in the environment. Now, if we take nitrous oxide or NOx, which is a byproduct of engine combustion, it can cause acid rain. It's a greenhouse gas. If we were subjected to long periods of a concentrated impact of NOx, it could cause visibility, breathing problems, etc. Now, in farm machinery, we are not the biggest pollutants by any means. You can imagine trucks, buses, passenger cars, which are used in urban areas, would be much worse, if you like, than what we are. But as trucks and buses and cars become cleaner, the onus is on us as farm machinery manufacturers to make sure that our machines are producing clean air as well. And essentially the government legislation, when we peel back all the red tape, is about making the air that we all breathe, even us as farm machinery people, much cleaner. And that's good for everybody. It's good for the environment, it's good for farmers, it's good for farmers' customers. It's just generally a good thing to be involved in.
And how is this legislation affecting the design of tractors like the one behind you?
Well, it's a challenge for the engineers, because to restrict the production of nitrous oxide in an engine, there are two choices. One is the selection that we've taken, which is to treat the gases in the exhaust stream, which means that we don't actually need to do anything to the engine. Or the alternative would be to reduce the engine temperature, the combustion temperature. And that's a massive challenge for engineers as additional components are required to cool the exhaust gases, recirculate the exhaust gases, etc. On our brand new 370 horsepower flagship tractor, the Massey Ferguson 8690, we've selected the technology that's widely used in truck and bus industries called SCR. That means selective catalytic reduction. Well, that's quite a mouthful, but how does it actually work in practice? Well, basically we set up the engine to be absolutely as efficient as possible and don't worry about the exhaust emissions at this stage. That means that we actually get improved fuel economy from the engine, because once the gases come into the exhaust stream, we're going to treat them with a substance very well known to farmers, which is urea. but it's not a fertilizer in this case, it's a fluid, a very controlled and regulated fluid, if you like, that we're going to inject into the exhaust system, and in a catalytic process convert those nitrous oxide gases, the NOx, into harmless nitrogen and water. And that's essentially what we are doing to make sure that the air coming out our exhaust pipes is clean and meets the regulations set down by both the UK and the European governments.
And what are the things about this new tractor make it stand out?
Well, following on from the discussion on electronics, we've got a link between the tractor engine and the transmission. We call that dynamic transmission management. It actually means that we're always operating the tractor in the most fuel efficient mode possible as we drive through the field. In addition to that, we've got a brand new cab on this tractor. It's what we call a 4-point cab. That means excellent visibility to the left, to the right, to the forward, to the rear. The driver sits in luxury, if you like, inside the cab, ready to do a full day's work. All the controls are very neatly arranged to his right hand side or to his left hand side as required, and he sits in complete control. In addition to that, the cab sits in a brand new suspension system that automatically follows the contours of the field. Again, more comfort means more productivity for the driver. We have a beefed up heavy duty version of the transmission that we already used in an existing tractor series, and the new engine management system that we already discussed. So it is a completely new tractor that uses technology that we already had, builds on that technology, beefs it up, and has introduced some important new innovations as well.
It's obviously a very big, powerful tractor, but how does it perform in terms of fuel consumption?
Well, using this new SCR system, which is the treatment of the exhaust gases after they leave the engine, that means that our engineers can set up the tractor engine to perfection, to be the most efficient and economic as possible, getting the right combustion temperature and turning all the diesel fuel into energy. That means that we're able to publicly publish a 5% fuel saving versus alternative emissions control technologies.